Antwerp, Belgium. The night of February 16, 2003. Four men are standing inside one of the most secure vaults in the world, 2 floors underground, surrounded by diamonds worth more than $100 million. That vault has a magnetic field alarm, a heat sensor, a light sensor, and a motion detector running off radar. All of it is silent right now, because someone spent 2 years learning exactly how to keep it that way. By morning, 109 safe deposit boxes are sitting open and empty. Almost none of what was inside them will ever be found again. This is the story of the Antwerp Diamond Heist, still the largest jewel robbery ever recorded, and the men who nearly got away with it completely, if not for a half-eaten sandwich. The tenant. Antwerp isn't just a city in Belgium, it's the center of the world diamond trade, where something like 80% of the world's rough diamonds change hands. Right in the middle of that district sits the Antwerp Diamond Center, a building most people never think twice about, unless diamonds are their business. In 2000, an Italian man named Leonardo Notarbartolo rented a small office inside that building. He told people he was a diamond trader, dressed the part, spoke the right languages, and rented space in the building's underground vault, the same vault legitimate dealers use to store real inventory. Notarbartolo wasn't actually in the diamond business. He was a professional thief, loosely connected to a network of career criminals from Turin, Italy, that police would later nickname the School of Turin. For 2 years, he did almost nothing but exist there. He showed up at his office, made small talk with neighbors, picked up his mail. Notice what he never did. He never asked a suspicious question, never poked around where he shouldn't, never gave anyone in that building a single reason to remember his face. That patience was the entire heist. Everything else was just execution. The vault. The vault sat 2 floors beneath the street, behind a door built to survive a small war. To get through it, you needed a 10-digit combination, a physical key, and you had to beat 5 separate security systems stacked on top of each other. A magnetic field ran across the door and would trip an alarm the instant it broke. A heat sensor was built to catch a human body's infrared signature. A light sensor needed total darkness to stay calm. A seismic sensor could feel footsteps and drilling through solid concrete, and a radar system tracked any motion in the room. On paper, this vault was unbeatable. Nobody had broken into it in the 18 years since the building went up. That reputation is exactly why nobody imagined a diamond trader with a rented safe box could be the threat sitting right inside it. The break-in. 2 days before the robbery, on the morning of February 14th, Notarbartolo walked up to the vault and asked the guard to buzz him in, exactly like he had dozens of times before as a paying tenant. Nothing about it looked unusual. Once inside, with a guard watching through an intercom camera who could glance over at any second, he pulled out an ordinary can of hairspray and gave the heat sensor a quick, careful coat. Around that same time, someone also loosened the screws on the door's 2 magnetic contact plates and taped them loosely into place, ready for later. One wrong look from that guard at the wrong second, and the entire 2-year plan would have ended right there, days before the heist even began. On the night of February 15th, Notarbartolo and at least 3 other men let themselves into the building using keys and access he'd spent 2 years legitimately collecting. No broken locks, no alarms. Just men walking into a building they were already allowed to be in. At the vault door, they slid a small aluminum plate between the 2 contact plates prepped days earlier, so the magnetic field kept reading as unbroken while they swung the door open. The hairspray coating already had the heat sensor blind. Black tape went over the light sensor's eye, feeding it a steady picture of nothing. A sheet of styrofoam blocked the infrared beam from ever reaching a human shape. Nobody touched the seismic sensor or the radar. They didn't need to. The whole plan depended on moving slowly and deliberately enough that neither system ever registered a threat. They only had the weekend. The building would be back open for business Monday morning, so every box had to be cracked and everyone gone before then. Working through the night in near total silence, they cranked open box after box with a custom-made tool built just for these locks. Notice how none of this required breaking anything. Every system in that vault was built to catch force, noise, sudden movement. These men didn't force anything. They spent 2 years quietly studying the vault's routines and blind spots, learning exactly when its defenses relaxed and exactly what each sensor failed to catch, then simply moved inside those patterns all night long. The morning after. By sunrise, 109 of the 189 boxes in that vault sat open and empty. Loose diamonds, gold, jewelry, all of it gone, along with paperwork the thieves grabbed just to slow down the investigation. When employees found the vault that Monday morning, the scene looked less like a robbery and more like an earthquake. Wrappers, torn envelopes, and empty boxes covered the floor. Estimates on what disappeared that night start around $100 million. Some go much higher. Nobody, including the insurers, ever agreed on an exact number, because nobody could prove exactly what had been sitting in boxes that nobody but their owners had ever opened. For a moment, it looked like the perfect crime. No alarms triggered, no suspects, just an empty vault, and a diamond trader named Notarbartolo who hadn't been seen in days. The sandwich. A day or two after the heist, someone driving along the highway outside Antwerp tossed a bag of garbage into the woods near a small town called Weinigem. A local landowner found it while walking his property and thought it looked strange enough to call the police. Inside was exactly what the thieves should have burned instead of dumping. Torn-up papers with the Antwerp Diamond Center's own letterhead, a broken video cassette, rubber gloves, and a half-eaten salami sandwich. That sandwich still carried Notarbartolo's DNA. Notice the contrast. 2 years of patience, disguise, and discipline, undone by garbage tossed out of a car window a few miles from the scene. After pulling off one of the most careful heists ever recorded, this crew's biggest mistake didn't happen in the vault. It happened deciding where to throw away their trash. The trial. Police matched the DNA to Notarbartolo, a man they already had a file on from earlier convictions in Italy. 5 days after the heist, he came back to his old office at the Diamond Center, maybe to collect something, maybe just out of habit, and detectives were already waiting. He was arrested along with 3 associates. At trial in 2005, Notarbartolo was sentenced to 10 years. His accomplices got 5 years each. A 5th man, never identified, was never caught at all. Notarbartolo later claimed from prison that the real haul was closer to $20 million, not $100 million, and hinted the vault's owners had inflated their losses for the insurance payout. Investigators never found that plausible, mostly because the vault itself wasn't insured for anywhere close to that number. Whichever version is true, almost none of what disappeared that weekend was ever recovered. Notarbartolo served about 5 years before parole. He walked out the same way he walked in. Calm, unbothered, and still not saying where the diamonds went. The vault. More than 20 years later, the Antwerp Diamond Heist still holds the record for the largest jewelry theft ever documented. 4 or 5 men beat a vault nobody had cracked in 18 years, using nothing more advanced than hairspray, tape, and 2 years of nobody bothering to question them. Here's the part that's almost hard to believe. The vault never beat them. The hairspray, the tape, the aluminum plate, none of it failed. What ended a 2-year operation was a sandwich thrown out of a car window a few miles down the road. Would you trust a plan good enough to survive 2 straight years, only to lose it over where to throw away the trash afterward? Drop your answer in the comments and subscribe if you want the next one.